Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Monday night. Tonight, we're speaking on the topic of food allergies and what are the typical signs of an allergic reaction. What should we do if someone near us is actually having an allergic reaction? I really think you don't have to be a parent with a child of allergies or that suffering with allergies to. I'm just going to bring Caroline Partridge for the moment. She should be probably up on the screen any second. Hey, Caroline, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Rachel. How are you?
Yeah, really, really good. I was just saying, I really don't think you have to be a parent of a child with allergies for this conversation to be relevant by any means whatsoever. I think it's something
No.
that, um, we are all surrounded by people and family and friends that have food allergies, and it's something that's very, very important for everybody to be knowledgeable on. Um, and if, in this instance, it could be a niece, it could be a nephew, it could be a friend, it could be anyone, and even so with your children's um, birthday parties and that sort of stuff, we're surrounded by children all the time, and sometimes this like catches unawares as well. Would you say? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And like saying before, I was just reading up with Allergy and Anaphylaxis Australia. I was practicing that word before, anaphylaxis. Allergy and I can't say it now. Anaphylaxis Australia states that up to 2% of adults and up to 8% of children under the age of 5 are affected by a food allergy, which is an incredible stat. And there's also been some recent studies, and the data indicates that 10% of children under the age of 1 actually have some form of a proven food allergy, which is incredible. Really is. It's a lot. It really is. So, like
It's
we're saying,
huge. Yeah.
doesn't have to be our own children. It could be anyone, a niece, a nephew, a cousin, a friend, or even a stranger. So the question is, I guess, that if we were around somebody that was thinking that they're having an allergic reaction, what would we do? And that's the question. I mean, I actually asked myself that question, and I thought, you know what, how terrible. I've got a nephew, and I think I would probably panic, and that's obviously not going to help anyone. So the question is, what do we do? So tonight we are speaking with Caroline Partridge, and she is from Aussie Allergy Mum. And Caroline uses her background in paramedics and study of nutrition to help other allergy families find accurate and helpful allergy information and resources, as well as different forms of support. So we're really excited to have you tonight. Welcome.
Thank
And
you. I'm so excited to be here.
woohoo! And I had my Baraka, like I told you. So, and you're one of our partners, and we publish articles of yours each month. And this month we published an article titled, "Would you recognize an allergic reaction?" So you're going to be answering three key questions in a moment. But before we do that, for somebody that maybe hasn't read the article yet, and that's fine if they haven't, can you maybe give us a little bit of an overview on what the article's about?
Yeah, so it basically just goes through and talks about the most common symptoms of an allergic reaction and what someone might feel. And then we just talk a little bit specifically about how a child might describe that reaction because they don't tend to use the words that we use. And sometimes people, explain to me that it's been very difficult for them to really know that something's happening for their child because they just use words that they were not expecting.
Yes. So it's about understanding what the cues and what the signs are, really. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then just once, something is happening, just knowing those few key things that you can do to really make a difference.
Absolutely. Well, we should maybe
Yeah.
get stuck into the question so we can start the conversation maybe. The first question
Yeah.
really is about, how did Aussie Allergy Mum come about? So tell us a little bit about your background, because we know, as I mentioned before, that you've got a background in paramedics, and you're studying nutrition. Is that right? You've been studying
Yeah,
nutrition.
I finished my degree. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess it all twines into one. So I've been a paramedic qualified now for the last 12 years. And 5.5 years ago, I was gifted a child who turned out to have a lot of food allergies and food intolerances. And so, in the process of caring for her, I went back to university and I studied nutrition. And Aussie Allergy Mum was basically just born out of people following our journey and what was happening for us. And people would reach out to me for support and just to chat, because it can be such a roller coaster. And so that's kind of where Aussie Allergy Mum was born from. That little girl is now 5.5 and starts school in February, which
Oh,
is
wow.
quite amazing. Yeah. So, and she still has quite a lot of food allergies. She has outgrown some, but not all. So we're still on our journey. And so I share the reality of that and as much information as I can so that people are aware of food allergies and how they can help me keep her safe and other kids with allergies safe. So that's the story.
And you speak a lot about that you sort of give support for families that can feel overwhelmed and they're full of fear and confusion and questions and that sort of stuff. Is there something that you've found since you've started the blog that you've encountered a lot of families going through those emotions?
Yes. Yeah, I think naturally every family goes through emotions, a lot, when they're diagnosed or when a first allergic reaction happens and this terrible fear and shock of what they've undergone. But then the length of the journey and the complicated nature of what they're dealing with really takes a toll on families and a toll on parents and a toll on children. So that's really my focus is supporting people and linking people together, making sure that everybody knows that they're not alone.
Yeah. And so when you first found out about your daughter having allergies, like what were your emotions? What did you feel? Which I'm sure is the same that every parent sort of goes through.
Yeah, so there's actually like a feeling of relief, often, because you might have realized that something's not right with your child, but you haven't been able to pick up on exactly what that is, or have a diagnosis. So there's that kind of side of it. But then there's this terrible, overwhelming feeling of how you're going to keep them safe,
Yeah.
and a real fear for their future is something very common. What's going to happen? Are they going to outgrow their allergies? How are they going to go to school? How are you going to keep them safe when you're not with them every second of the day? So many different emotions.
Yeah. And so, and you're saying before, so that's something that you found that a lot of parents have been sort of that's what those initial feelings are all the same, sort of
Yeah.
concurrent throughout all of them.
Yeah. Everyone seems to ride, a similar roller coaster in terms of the emotions, even though everyone's story is completely different, obviously. But there seems to be some real general themes about that. And so that's the sort of focus for our support.
I was reading online before too. So many food allergies in children are not severe, but they'll disappear in time. And they say that most triggers of allergic reactions in childhood are eggs, peanuts and nuts, tree nuts and cow's milk. Fish
Hmm.
and shellfish allergies are also common in more common in adulthood, aren't they? Not so much in children with fish.
Yeah, tend to be,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah,
yeah,
fish and shellfish tend to be in adulthood, and egg and dairy allergies are very common in super young children, and they're much more likely to be outgrown than a nut allergy. So nut allergies are more likely to stay with you for life, whereas your eggs and your dairy are more likely to be outgrown.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that's yeah. So I sort of gave the stats before too. So it's up to sort of 8% of children under 5, and then 10% of children under 1 have got some form of an allergy. So let's maybe shoot into
yeah.
the. So, what would be the most typical signs of an allergic reaction if someone hasn't actually experienced that and been around someone before?
Yeah, so the most typical signs of a life-threatening allergic reaction that requires immediate medical intervention are things like swelling of the lips or the tongue, or swelling inside the mouth, difficulty breathing, sudden collapse, or noticing that someone is particularly dizzy or wanting to lie down, struggling to stay awake. Particularly in children, they struggle to stay awake. You can also have, rashes, which is something that a lot of people do recognize as part of an allergic reaction. laboured breathing. So really it centres around swelling in areas that are dangerous to swell, difficulty breathing and rashing normally. And then sometimes the added scary factor of a child or an adult who's wanting to fall asleep. Sometimes you can see vomiting associated with a life-threatening reaction, but it's not always present. So they're the main signs.
And what about time frames as well? So say you weren't aware of your child having some form of a reaction to something, what would be a general sort of time frame that those things would happen?
Yeah, so the definition for anaphylaxis is that it happens within 2 hours of being exposed to whatever you're allergic to. However, a lot of life-threatening reactions will happen a lot faster than that. So often it can occur within 2 to 5 minutes of eating the food or being exposed to the allergen. But some people find that it is a little bit more delayed, or some of the symptoms come and then it kind of progressively gets worse over a few minutes rather than just being all of a sudden everything at the same time. So it's really watching the person to see what kind of develops and unfolds.
All right. So in that instance, how would a child potentially then describe what is happening to an adult or a parent, or could be an auntie, a grandparent, anyone?
Yeah, so the most common things that children say are things like, my mouth feels hot, or my throat is itching, or I can't swallow my food, which indicates there might be some swelling in the back of the throat. Or they might say, I feel like somebody's sitting on my chest. That's a common way for them to describe not being able to breathe. They might say something like, I need to go to sleep now, or I can't stay awake. They might tell you that they have, pain in the stomach. Often people get nausea, and children don't really know the difference between feeling like they want to vomit and actual pain. So they might say that they've got pain in their stomach. So just looking out for those things that they're telling you that are very unusual for them. But they'll be much more descriptive about how it actually feels. So they'll use words like itchy or hot or, painful.
Yeah. And I mean, prior to this sort of happening, I know a lot of children's hospitals do voluntary testing for allergies as well. Have you had much experience with that stuff? And do you have any tips on parents sort of booking in those appointments and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I guess the best thing I can say is if you are in a life-threatening situation, then you absolutely need to go to hospital. Call 000 and go to hospital, because that really starts the process of finding out what's going on. So if you don't know that there's an allergy, then that's the best way to get the appropriate treatment, then also though to start the process. In terms of getting allergy testing, generally you would see your general practitioner and they would refer you on to a specialist. And generally it's only specialists that do allergy testing, because it is a very specialized area to be able to read those tests properly, and also, to have a plan and formulate a plan once you discover those allergies. So definitely, if you have concerns, head to your GP and talk to them, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction.
Yeah. So in the instance, just going back to what we were saying before about sort of the signs, and so you're in a situation where the child is communicating some of those words. I want to be sick, I feel like lying down, or someone's on my chest, I feel hot, I feel scratchy, those types of things.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through the quick steps that you should actually go through in that instance if you're sort of starting to think that they're having some form of reaction?
Yeah, so I guess it really just comes down to a couple of simple things. One is just to stay as calm as you can and keep the child as calm as you can. And preferably, if possible, lie them down or sit them down as they're most comfortable, but not standing up, because then if they do pass out, they might hurt themselves. The second thing is to send for help. So call 000. Get the paramedics on the way, ask for the ambulance, let them know that you think that that somebody's having an allergic reaction, because they're carrying with them life-saving medication. And if the person doesn't already carry medication, then that's what you need immediately. And then just stay with the person and, you know, monitor how they're feeling and update that information to 000 and just keep them calm.
Yep. And I mean, what's your thoughts on EpiPens? I mean, parents should be carrying those EpiPens with them everywhere.
Yeah, I carry two myself everywhere I go,
Yeah.
because I do have food allergies of my own. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
What do you have? What
Yeah.
food do you have?
Yeah, so I'm allergic to coconut, which is a minefield.
Wow.
Um,
And how did you discover
yeah.
that? Young age, or what age were you when you discovered that then?
No, I had my first life-threatening allergic reaction at the age of 25.
So I mean, okay. So as an adult, how do you then describe how that feels and what actually
Mm.
what you go through? Like, how would you describe that?
Yeah, so what happens for me, and it's different for everyone, but what happens for me is I start to feel really hot and I get a rising heat feeling through my neck and flushed up through my face. And as that happens, I become itchy all over my body and I raise up in hives. And
What's
then my throat closes.
the time frame
Sorry.
that would?
Very quick. Yeah, all in the space of about 30 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, and so my airway actually closes over in the back of my throat and I'm unable to breathe.
For your mouth. So you breathe
Yeah,
in your mouth.
can't breathe at all, even through my nose. So it cuts off down low. And yeah, so I carry my EpiPens, obviously,
Wow.
everywhere.
So in that instance,
Yeah.
then you've detected coconut in something that you've eaten or had to drink, then you so that happens within a minute. Then you what? Then you actually inject yourself with the EpiPen.
Yeah, I have injected myself and I've had other people inject me, obviously. But I have done it myself. So I inject myself with an EpiPen and someone calls 000 and I wait for my workmates to turn
I was
up.
like, about this. So tell us a little bit, because as a paramedic, I mean, what's your experience? I mean, is it quite common? Have you had this? Have you had to sort of go and attend to people like this?
Yeah. So I only very recently went to someone who was having an anaphylactic reaction to a bee sting, which is quite common.
Yeah.
But yes, over my career, I have been to a lot of people having anything ranging from a mild allergic reaction through to full-blown anaphylaxis. And unfortunately, a couple of times I have been the victim that my workmates have had to take care of. But you know, all paramedics are highly trained in the area of anaphylaxis. We carry life-saving medication with us, all of us, in every car. So never hesitate to call. That's one of the things we are good at taking care of.
Yeah, I mean, not every parent's got a child has got a parent that's a trained paramedic. So your daughter's in very good hands. But is
Yeah, lucky
it
her.
yeah, any other courses that you would suggest that parents that should sort of go on? I mean, I'll always call 000, obviously. But is there any other courses that
Yeah.
you know of you can recommend, or books that they should read
Yes.
like that?
Yeah, so I think it's really important that every parent has up-to-date first aid. Every first aid course, accredited first aid course, and even short courses that are offered to parents always go through anaphylaxis and the symptoms and the treatment. And they often do familiarization with EpiPens in case there's one available, you know, even if it doesn't belong to the child or the adult. So definitely first aid training is absolutely essential, you know, and a lot of people out there have that training through work or whatever, but it's great to just brush up and refresh on that because children like to throw us all kinds of weird and wonderful emergencies.
Yeah, I mean, I once again put my hand up because I haven't actually had my first aid in quite a few years. I mean, is that a standard thing that they incorporate in first aid courses these days now?
Yes, yeah. So generally, every first aid course will at least touch on the area of anaphylaxis, which
Yeah,
is great because it means that the word is kind of getting out there, and there's more people in the community that recognize those situations.
yeah. All right. Well, look, The information you've given us has been fantastic tonight, Caroline. Thank you so much. If families are sort of feeling overwhelmed, or they've got questions, or they want some more advice or support, whereabouts can they find you?
So the easiest way to find me, because we're already on Facebook, will be to type in Caroline Partridge Aussie Allergy Mum, or you can just type Aussie Allergy Mum, and that will take you to my page. We also have a couple of support groups and information and all that kind of stuff. So jump on there and yeah, and send me a message if there's something that I can do to help.
And all the other information is in the article. Would you recognise would you recognise an allergic reaction ? Your article that we've published this month. I can't wait to catch up next month on whatever topic you're going to be writing about. We can have a chat about that. But thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll speak to you really soon.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
See you, Caroline. Take care. Bye.
Bye.